Hi there, my name's Joe Hunsaker and I'm the one that puts together the Hunsaker Christmas Light Show. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a behind the scenes look so you can see what goes into creating a Christmas light show like what we have here at the Hunsaker house. I want to start off talking about the software that I use. And the software that I use is called Light-O-Rama, and I use the S5 or the most recent version of Light-O-Rama. A lot of people I know use a different program. It's called X-Lights, and X-Lights is free, it's open source, and a lot of people use that. But because I started off several years ago using Light-O-Rama, and I have a lot of what are called AC lights, controller lights, and pixels, I have found it a lot easier just to stay with the Light-O-Rama and using the S5 version of that. If you're only using pixels, I understand that X-Lights is really the way to go, that you can run AC lights off of X-Lights, but it's been my experience with experimenting with that it's not as friendly trying to make the AC lights work with the X-Lights. So that's a little something. Okay, so I use the Light-O-Rama software, and this is my hobby, and it's something that I kind of tinker with most of the year. So if I have a brand new song that I want to do, like this year I added 3 brand new songs to the display. It's a pretty labor-intensive process. Now, you can purchase already programmed light shows, and that really cuts down on the amount of work that you have to put into it. But I've never done that. I always like to program my own lights. And so like I said, it's kind of a time-consuming thing. And you have to program each prop individually. Sometimes you can do groups and so forth. But it takes anywhere from, well, depending on how long the song is. Let's say that I'm doing a brand new song and it's 3.5 minutes long. It's just tinkering around. It's going to take me about a month, to get that song done. As I sit down and do it, for a 3.5 minute song, it takes, if you're starting from scratch, it takes probably about 40 hours for each minute of song. So, 120, 130 hours for a regular song, that's not out of the question if you're doing it all from scratch. Now, I don't think I'm very fast at programming. I'm pretty slow, and I don't know if that's what everybody else does. Some people may be quite a bit quicker than I am, but that's pretty much the way I do it. So after I finish the programming here on my desktop, and your desktop does need to have I don't know that all of the specific technical specifications, but I know that I have a pretty powerful graphics card in this computer so that when I run the simulations to see what it looks like, it can do that fairly smoothly. But once you get a song programmed, I take and I put all the songs on a flash drive, and I take them out into the garage and put them on a little laptop that I have out in the garage. It doesn't take a lot of horsepower or a lot of computing horsepower to run the shows, but I think it's good to have a pretty powerful computer to actually do that. So, speaking of the laptop, let's go look at the hardware now. Take a trip out into the garage and see the hardware side of behind the scenes of the Hunsaker Christmas program. So this is the command center of my light program. I use a laptop to run the computer program, and then I have a stereo here that runs the sound. The laptop this is a Hewlett-Packard laptop. To run the program, it does not take a lot of computing power. So you can run your program with just about any laptop. This one I bought, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and it does a fine job. The stereo that I use, again, you do not have to have a very sophisticated stereo. As a matter of fact, I used to use a little stereo that I got for my kids when they were just little. It finally gave up the ghost, though, and so I went to Goodwill to find a new one, and I found this Denon stereo, and it's actually pretty nice. But it doesn't have to be that nice. But I picked it up for $14.50. So, you know, my stereo is a $14.50 stereo. How the sound works, let me start there. I come out of the headphone jack, and I split the signal coming out of the headphone jack. And so I have one stereo set feed going to the amplifier there, and then the other side runs out here to my FM transmitter. I've got a little, I think it's a 500 milliwatt FM transmitter in that box, and it transmits out on a clear channel here. So it transmits, I don't know, probably a football field length or two away from the house, and people can come up and listen to the Christmas light program in their cars instead of through the speakers that are outside. So the light program itself runs two different networks. So one network runs all the AC lights, or the regular lights, and then the other network runs all the RGB pixels, those smart lights. Those are the ones that you can, you know, have different kinds of designs and chases and so forth. So this laptop does not have an Ethernet outlet, so I have to use this little dongle here to go from USB to Ethernet. And then that white cable, that is my E131 network. So that's actually DMX over that Ethernet. And that runs all those smart pixels. And then coming out of the other side here, I have my Light-O-Rama network coming out of this other USB port. And so, again, I have one set of one network that just runs like these regular lights here, like what are in this bush and what are on these little trees here that I made up. And so the Light-O-Rama, like I said, Light-O-Rama runs all the AC lights, and it runs, the controllers there are all daisy chained together. In other words, I have one major cable that comes out, and it actually goes here to this first Light-O-Rama controller box, and from there it comes out of that and goes to another, and to another, to another. I have 5 of these controllers all together. Just as a side light, for power, I had these two, you can see there's 2 things that come out of there, and they come right out of my my power box, and each of those are 20 amp outlets, and so there's 2 20 amp outlets, and I use those and then some regular other outdoor plug-ins. But you know, some say, wow, your electricity bill must go up a lot. No, it really doesn't, because these LED lights do not pull a whole lot of power. But it's nice to have. Oh, look, there's a bird peeking out of that bush. That's kind of cool. So my electricity bill really doesn't go up that much. Okay, so that's the Light-O-Rama network. It runs, you know, all my snowflakes and the regular AC lights. Then the pixels, like this cross, is pixel technology. So are the matrices that are up there in those windows. My mega tree is also the smart technology, these leaping arches, and as well as these smaller pixel trees. These are all smart technology, so they can change colors. You can do different designs and chases and so forth, and all those run on that what's called DMX over internet, or E131. The little white lights here are new this year. These are all little strobe lights that flash. It really added quite a bit. This tube running across here is a translucent tube, and it has pixel strips inside of it. The controllers that run them are those little inside those little plastic boxes there. They're actually first generation Light-O-Rama pixels, and they do a really fine job. I've got pixel controllers inside those those boxes that are wrapped in plastic. Now, they're in weatherproof boxes, so they really don't need to be wrapped in these plastic bags. You know, some might think, well, that's for weatherproofing. That's not necessarily true. They're just out here next to the road, and I don't want my controllers out here right next to the road. So actually I wrap them up like that to kind of disguise them in that way.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. So there's another controller. Here's this other box right there. That's actually one of my speakers, one of my stereo speakers. So I have two stereo speakers out, and I run the sound out here where people walking by can listen to it, or with the radio transmitter, like I said earlier, they can come and tune in. I have a sign out front that says, I found a blank channel in the FM spectrum, and that little sign there lights up and it says tune to 89.3, so people can listen inside their cars. Usually the car stereos have a lot better fidelity than what my little speakers out here do. So people sit out in their cars and they watch the light show and they listen to it there. So I have these net lights here. Those are some old net lights that I have. They don't dim. And so I put them there, and they run chases back and forth and do little things like that. Got a couple of pixel stars here. This big snowflake in the window is new this year. Shout out to Gilbert Engineering for their Coro products. I got that from them, as well as the angel up there on top of the roof. Well, I think that about does it. That's a little bit of a behind the scenes look at the Hunsaker Christmas Light Show. And as I have time, I'm going to be making some new videos of my light show this year. So thanks for watching.